get out of your head. And let's go. Yeah, let's let's just take a break and welcome our global family that is joining us. Join your hands, welcome them. I feel those are few. Okay, let's go to Numbers 14:20. Numbers 14:20, I just want us to learn a lesson today that will get you out into the promoting world, okay? Into infusing your personality and helping as many people as possible with what God has blessed you with, all right? And we said, get out of your mind. And for those of you that, I think I will just read very quickly, that is Numbers 20. The Lord replied, I have forgiven them as you asked. Nevertheless, I surely as I live, as surely as the glory of the Lord fills the whole earth, not one of those who saw my glory and the signs I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their ancestors. No one who has treated me with contempt, but my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, not perfectly, but wholeheartedly. I will bring him into the land he went into, and his descendants will inherit it. All right? And we're just going to use that as the background of what we are going to talk about. But I want us to picture, because I look at the scenarios or places in my life where I took long, I rotated, I delayed, and I discovered that the battle was not with anyone else. The battle was not, it was in my mind. I was contemplating, I was revisiting my failures, I was looking at what I could and what I couldn't do, and what the enemy was actually exaggerating in my life, because in every period of our lives, there will always be something that the devil is exaggerating. And when it comes to the vision, I discovered that I loved the start of the vision, because the start of the vision is always juicy, right? The start of any vision. Just imagine how you signed up for this mentorship. You had the thoughts of, in 2 months' time like this, I will be on high heels and high-waisted skirts, and I will be speaking with these long legs. You know those long legs that people walk with? And I will be on global platforms, and I will, as in, there's a way we envision ourselves. And sometimes in shorter periods, in shorter periods. But there's a way it looks nice. And I think God allows us to have such visions for a reason, because he wants to hook us in. He's like, kufunye. You're dreaming about being that person, that powerful public speaker. You're dreaming about that powerful coach. You're dreaming about, you know, having the freedom of your life and not being employed and tight-marked to a certain schedule. You have certain dreams, and some of us have put them on a vision. And Habakkuk says, write it, so that whoever reads it can do what? Why do they run? Because it sounds crazy, because it's unattainable, because you look like you are delusional, because you look like you are crazy, because it just looks like you are kaput. You need to be put in a mental hospital, right? But God allows those delusions. Why? Because he wants to hook you in. He does not give you the whole map for the journey. So the start is juicy. The end is also nice, because then that is the delivery of the promise. But he never tells you how stretched you are going to be in the middle. He never tells you how many people are actually going to betray you. He never tells you how many people are going to look at you and tell you how not good, or how undeserving, or how you're faking it, or how, I think you have heard some of these words. And he didn't tell you that, oh, sometimes you will have to use that block button. He doesn't tell you all that. That this is what comes with the package. You know, some of us have lugezgezi. Even when we go to hospitals to be treated, we ask the doctors, so this medicine that you have given me, what side effects does it have? You know, it has nausea, you know, it has what? But in Africa here, someone will be like, not that much, but it does the job. So you're like, hey, it does the job. I want to get healed, so let me. So when you hear the things coming, then you're like, they didn't warn me. That is why in the Western world, you can be sued for not disclosing everything. By the way, even if you prick me and the needle was painful but you didn't warn me, I can sue you. Hey, that's what happens. That's what happens. In Africa here, we have to take care of ourselves. Why do you think you go to these malls when they are mopping, they are putting posts to show that this is a slippery? Because you can fall, and if it wasn't there and you can prove that it wasn't there, you can sue them. They can treat you and they can pay you. Huh? But it will never change your broken leg. Okay? So now we are in the middle. Most of us are in the middle. And that is where we are actually going to talk about. And how far you go and how much you accomplish in this world, okay, is not just about how God sees you, but also how you see yourself and what you believe about yourself. So you see, for God's things and blessings to be achieved in our lives, we have to participate. And how we participate is having faith that what he said is true. If this is what he promised, and his word is yes and amen, then you're like, you know what? He promised and he will fulfill. So you take him on his promise. As a man thinks, so you realize he didn't say, as God thinks, so are you. That is what he should have said. Because when God said, oh, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. Huh? Yes. But if you don't believe it, then as you think, if you think you're ugly, yes, you are. And by the way, if you think you're ugly, there is a way you start looking ugly. Yes. If you think you're old, there is a way wrinkles start developing in places you don't know. So every time, because it is in your head. Our mindset, I told you, 2% versus 90. The 2% have said, I am not figuring it out. I'm taking it as the truth. But the 98% are saying, we are still figuring it out. Okay? So, as you think, so are you. So, the inconsistency that we see between who we are and how God sees us comes back to our mindset. And that is why I said, get out of your head. Because your head now is a battle, even for content creation. If I put it there and they don't like it, maybe I can't do it. Maybe those things are not for me. Maybe the people that do those things are people that have big houses. Maybe are the ones that have big cars. Maybe are the ones, so you are waiting until you have the big car. You are waiting until you have, but remember I told you, your advancement is dependent on who wins in your mind. So if the devil wins at convincing you that you're not good enough, it is not yet time for you, you can't do it, you don't deserve it, you are not well placed, you don't come from a good family, and then, I mean, the people that have done it, look at Bahati, hey, how fluent she is. You think you can get as fluent as she is? Do you see where it comes from comparison? While I have been at a place where maybe at some point I looked at people who speak mindfully. That word, I failed. I will admit I failed to speak that word. I will not try. So I don't care how mindful you are. I don't care. I will like you when you are speaking. But I will know, I will never be that. I will, even if I tried to speak slow. Let me just try it for a second. I'm like, you know what, as a man thinketh, so will you be. So if you don't win in this life, just know it comes back to your mind. How do we feel? How do we feel? You're like, get behind me, devil. Not today. Not today. Where is Bahati? Yeah? Because you are used to the one who screams as if she doesn't have a microphone. Because you're used to, you know, someone who just bees herself half the time. I forget that I'm even speaking. And then, until my producer shows me, 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go. That is when I'm like, that is when I bring the real points. You've never seen that? When they show me, those people on camera, when they show me 2 minutes, half the time I'm not looking at them. So they get strategic angles. So someone will move the other side, 2 minutes. And then I will be so busy speaking. I will not even see them. Even if they do this, I will not see them. So they've sat me several times and told me, can you look at us when you are speaking? Can you look at us? But I'm not seeing. So when they say 2 minutes, that's when I wrap up and bring all the points. So if you notice, all the points be in the last 2 minutes. Okay, so our advancement is determined by who wins in the battle of our minds. Most arguments are in your head. I want us to go, and I just want to briefly, mention, what arguments have you had in your head? Because some of you will think that I'm the only one. No, I have had these arguments, I don't know for how many years, and I will still have them. And I will tell you, even the world's biggest leaders still have those arguments in their heads. When they're about to open that microphone, they go for those interviews, they're like, how are they going to perceive me? Are they going to like me? We love validation. Every human being loves validation. That is why it is so important. By the way, we learn to validate others. When someone does something good, can you walk to them and tell them, that was mind-blowing, that was nice? You are encouraging the gift inside of them. When you go and you comment on someone's post, you are telling them, I can see you, I can feel you. Because what we want is to feel like we matter. All human beings want to feel like they matter. Of recent, in all my leadership sessions, I've been drumming it in leaders' minds to show people that they matter. Sometimes we feel we have too much power and we can back commands at people and disconnect with them. But the more we connect with them and we find the meaning for their lives and we show them that they matter, and as people help us, even when you are writing on social media and presenting your content, if you can be good at one thing, to show people that they matter and validate where they are, it will be resonating and it will be it will go straight to their hearts. Why? Because every human being wants to be validated. Now, even the devil in your head wants to be validated. Yeah. He needs you. And guess what? He does not have power if you don't validate him. So the power he has is if you believe in what he says, and the Bible says that he's the father of liars. That means he does not just not tell the truth, but he can't tell the truth because the truth does not reside inside of him. So when you get to know that the devil never says the truth, then you get to know that, hey, so if I am getting all these attacks in my mind, that means I'm actually on the right road. Do you know that the people that are not minded about their future, they're not working on anything, they barely get resistance. They barely get challenging mindsets and things attacking them. It's only when you start a journey to build something, build a business, and then that is too small. Who is going to buy those products? But everyone is making them on the market. Haven't you faced that? Everyone is making Chipotle. Like, who is not eating Chipotle in the market? And they filled up in the supermarket. There are how many people? Like, there are how many brands of bread? And so I am here. I also want to make bread. But guess what? Every brand of bread in every supermarket is actually getting customers. They are buying. Otherwise, they would not be bringing it back. So if you want, you can start another brand today. And guess what? There are people who are making bread. And you see Ntake, and I'm saying it's Ntake who is doing it. But there are people who are making, let me just give an example of Ntake. And they will have other 2 types loaves of breads with different pricings. So they are creating competition for themselves. They have one that all of you know, and they have others that you don't know that they come from their industries. That is what Gucci is doing. Do you know how many fakes are in America? In the UK? You go to buy and you're thinking, oh, because I bought something from the UK, it's original. There are more fakes. More fakes. And these people are saying, China is taking our markets. So if we are creating a very original Gucci bag, we will create a fake for it. So we are chasing away the Chinese market. So while you are buying and you're saying, oh, Gucci, you look, I got a bag and it's this price. And they're saying, oh, we made it. We are the ones who made it. You get it? Because they're like, no, tubatize. We get the high end, we also want the low. Hey. Because who doesn't know that they actually look the same? Who are you going to say, now you come and touch this leather and feel that it is original? Who is going to do that? Who has time for that? That they are going to see it in a picture and then they are going to say, oh, she was holding an original Gucci. Half the time we don't know what original is and what not original, what copy is. All right? So I want to know that your brain, your mind, and you are being you are being convinced right now. But by whatever the devil is saying, whatever the world is saying, your friends are saying, your family is saying, yourself, by the way, the biggest enemy lies within yourself. It's not even what others say. Because when another person says something that you don't believe, do you know that you beat it down? But when someone says something that has a little bit of truth that you are also thinking about, there is a way, cherry pamangu, to what you believed, and all of a sudden it explodes. And you're like, yeah, it is the truth. You know? I don't deserve it. It is the truth. I am not good enough. It is the truth. Why? Because it found a gap inside of you and something that you believed, and all of a sudden, now 1 + 1 = 2. It keeps multiplying, by the way. It keeps multiplying. All right? So, do you know that the things that we will, and I told you to think about these things. There are certain things that I use to convince myself, for example, like, I will never recover the years. You know when something has passed you by, and you feel like there is no second chance for it, and you feel like, I will never recover those years, like those years are wasted, and I'm like, even if I work so hard, there is a gap of me that I missed. Until I spoke to myself, and I'm like, who am I catching up with? Who is in my lane? I'm in my lane alone. So whether I crawl, whether I limp, whatever it is, I will still get to the destination. And it doesn't matter who gets there first. When someone gets there first, I will clap for them. Why? Because they are in their lane, they are in their calling. I cannot do what they were called to do, all right? So you see, when you start having those things, and then you're late, the devil tells you, you are late. Do you know that some of you have had some of those thoughts, right? The market is saturated. How many of us have had that? The market is saturated. There are so many coaches, there are so many speakers, everyone is saying something. How will I penetrate this market? And then we are talking about the five pillars. And then you're saying, personality, I understand, but mama, there are people who have personalities. People are dancing anyhow, people are falling, people are somersaulting. But now, do you know that you can search for your personality and you don't see it? For example, if I ask, not about the temperaments, because some of you understood the temperaments, but you're actually not living your temperaments. You're living what your mother taught you to live. Not your temperament. You're living hers. Because she told you, shh, don't speak anything. You don't dance like that. You don't, so half the time, you'll be wanting to do this. And you were told to do like this. Half the time you want to jump like this, but you were told to, you know, to clap like this. And you're like, whenever there is a voice inside of you every time it is calling you to order. Calling you to order. So even in your content, half the time you want to come out as yourself. Just like I told you, Lady Doha comes out and does those, you know, you dress like this, you dress like this, and then she takes another full month. She's not giving it to us. And I'm like, but I was waiting for more of that. And in my heart, I'm like, if I was waiting for that, that means there are other people who were waiting for that. I just love to see how yellow goes with light blue. Because half the time in my world, they don't connect. But I see other people connecting yellow and light blue. How do they do it? Khaki and what? And magenta. I even don't know how magenta looks like. Now, I be wanting those new ideas. But now, this is what we convince ourselves, by the way, that, oh, if I put something out and it is not liked as much, then it is not good. The battle is in the mind. The moment you win the battle in the mind, that is how you will show up in the fullness of yourself and how God created you. Okay? So, the devil is a liar. And I think so many of us have used that statement. Oh, the devil is a liar. But how do you counter every time something comes to your mind and it is not in alignment with what God speaks about you or what your vision is or where you are going? Because I talked about clarity. Again, let's just go through clarity. Lack of clarity is very expensive. Very expensive. And this is how it costs you in 3 areas. Number 1, your speed. If you don't have clarity, you will never accelerate. If you're driving and there is fog, believe me, you are stepping on the brakes. And you are going so slow because, and that is why when we are driving in fog, we have fog lights. For those that are driving, we have the fog lights. Because the fog lights, the work of the fog lights is they penetrate. They have the intensity to penetrate through the fog. They are not like the normal lights, because the normal lights will end somewhere. But when you put on the fog lights, they penetrate. But even when you put on the fog lights, you have to put on your indicator, because your indicator is showing the driver from the other side that this is where I am stopping. So don't come this side. Even when there is fog, it's possible we don't see the line. But please be careful. I am indicating, I am showing you, this is my territory. I've marked my territory. It's possible I'm not a good driver, or it's possible I have eyesight impairment, so it's possible I will cross into your lane. If you see me crossing me into your lane, if you see my indicator crossing into your lane, can you either stop or avoid me? You get it? So that means half the time we are driving without clarity, we are stepping on we are going at the slowest pace. Because then the road is slippery, we don't know what lies ahead. It's possible there are other cars that have stopped. It's possible that, you know, the wipers are not even working as much. And for some of us that have cars that they are automatic, you don't even have to increase their intensity. They decide when they turn on and when they don't turn on. You get it? So you realize that the best thing for you to pray for, and the reason as to why part of what we read in this scripture is when God said that Caleb has a good spirit. But why does he have a good spirit? When he went to spy the land, when he brought back the news, others brought the news that terrified people, but Caleb was the only person that says, we can actually go. We can actually go. And even when time passed, do you know how many years passed? 45 more years, minus possessing the land. But remember, God was telling them, I'm bringing you out, but I am taking you in. And he has given them where he is taking them. And now Caleb is coming to Joshua and saying that even after 45 years, I have seen a country, a hillside, and that is what I want. Give me my mountain. I am still as powerful as I was at 45. And he said that God willing, when he's going to give me the courage to take away the Anakites and the Amalekites. So you see, for him, he's saying, I don't fear the fight. I am going to fight through, but I am going to actually make it. And these are the battles that we actually have in our minds. In as far as we possess and as far as we go. I said it is the battle of the mind. At 85, he says, I am still as strong as I was at 45, when God promised this land to my forefathers. And God said that everyone else might not taste the land, but he has a kind spirit. And he is not perfect, but he has loved me, he has served me wholeheartedly. Okay? And I will give him the land that I promised. So if we know that the devil is a liar, why don't we call out on the lies? Why don't we speak back? When someone says you can't, you're like, you know what? I can, and I'm going to do it. If I fail, I fail. If I die, I die. Can we counter it? And how we counter it is the attitude. How we counter it is by doing it against the will or against the wish of others. How we do it is by showing up every day. How we do it is by thinking outside the box every single day, by becoming more creative every single day. All right? So one thing that I know is our enemies have a sneak peek of what our destiny looks like. They actually believe in us more than we believe in us. Do you know that? Because why would they tell you something that will cause you to switch off? Because they're like, if this person is left to go at this speed, we don't know what's going to happen 2 months down the road or 6 years down the road. So it is better we discourage them right now. So we will cause them to be frustrated. We will cause them to be overwhelmed. We will cause other people to poke them. We will cause other people to backstab them, to speak ill against them. We will cause people to even bring, by the way, things can go just out of your mind and come into the physical, that someone will carry frogs. I told you of how they used to carry frogs and put them in front of our door. And then we will come in the morning and you're praying. You just go into the tanks, sweep the thing, open the door, and guess what? You are making more money. And after that, you're building a house, you're buying a car in the same village, and people are saying, Abalogo babo, baba Tanzania. And by the way, there are so many people that saw us in that era up to now. When they see us on social media, they be giving testimonies. They're like, we have seen those people for the past 20 years. We have seen those people as in those people have just not started. Their journey started long time ago. So many people have believed in God because they're like, if those people believe in God, we are also going to believe in God. But why? That even when I did not have anything to show for what I was doing, I was showing up every single day. Even when I was going to big meetings to speak to big auditoriums on a boda, I was taking the boda and going behind the tent. Of course, I don't just appear at the front door. No. They must respect the God that brought me. So you go behind, you take off the dust, and then you enter, and everyone is like, Bahati is here, Bahati is here. And let me tell you, I'm like, the one that is in me is bigger than the one that is in the world. And I am showing up, and I need you to learn to affirm yourself. The 5 minutes, that 15 minutes before you talk, before you appear, those are not 15 minutes to tell yourself, oh, I didn't prepare enough. I don't know how it is going to turn up. I don't know whether people are going to like what I'm going to say. No, this is what you should be saying. This is my season. I am here to deliver. I am prepared for this season, and I am the one in this place, okay? I show up as God shows up. He's going to speak through me. I'm availing myself. I'm a vessel, and a vessel that is prepared. I read, I researched, and I have the experience, and I am here. I am not going. The moment you do that, let me tell you, all the shaking and the nerves, I'm not lying to you that they will not be there. But as they come, they will be scared. Because how do I even attack someone who believes otherwise? Because when your mind takes over and it goes into the positives, every negative thing that comes, it is actually beaten down. It is beaten, it is shut down. Because you believe too much in yourself. So when you go and you give a question as your opening remark, and you're not just beginning with, hi, my name is so-and-so, and you're like, how many here came, and you know that you're going to go back blessed. And by the way, in your heart of hearts, the devil is saying, let's see how you start. And here you are. You're throwing the question. You're even kicking your legs. You're like, how many here know that you're not going back the same? And the whole room is writing. And the devil in your mind is like, oh, those people are raising their hands. Are you sure? Are you sure of what you have prepared? Let me tell you, we be fighting even when people are not seeing. Even in the delivery room, have you gone to give birth? And while you're pushing, you're thinking about the worst. While you're pushing, you're thinking, will my baby survive? While you're pushing, you're thinking, will the oxygen be enough? While you're thinking, like, that we are fighting every place we go, left, right, and center. And some of you are behaving like you are not in a battlefield. Hey, Michael. And once you behave like you're not in the battlefield, that is how the enemy takes over. Because the negativity is too much. Have you ever treated someone and you questioned yourself and you know how to treat? You've treated people and they have healed, but all of a sudden you're like, will this person get healed? You start questioning yourself. You sell maybe something to someone, it has worked for 1,000 people, but still when you sell it to someone, there are people who will come to buy things. There are people who have told me that, you know what, I have sold things to so many, but when I realized you're the one that has bought things from me, now I started questioning myself. Now, Bahati, will they work for her? Celebrities, when things don't work, they put it on internet, and all of a sudden they're asking, how is it? Did it work? Is it good? And you can see all they need is validation, that they're fighting with something in their minds. And I'm like, relax. Even if it does not work, I have bought so many things that have not worked. You get it? This is not about to be the first. And I bought it willingly. You did not force it on me. Okay? For as long as you're sure you're selling something genuine, relax. Whether it works or it doesn't work for me, let me figure it out. Okay? So can we believe in ourselves so much? Okay? I don't want the devil to have so much faith in us, and yet we don't have that faith. If we are world changers, we must believe in ourselves so much. And that is self-sabotage. Do you know that we have spiritual procrastination? Yeah? Because everything has time. The Bible says that there is time for everything, right? And I believe there are so many times that God has opened certain doors, And you know what? We have taken more time fighting the battles in our minds than walking into the doors that God has prepared. And we have delayed ourselves. We have berated ourselves. Instead of walking into the door, we're like, but am I good enough? But the people on the other side. Other people are dressing. Other people are driving. Other people are eloquent. Now I be the one going there. You know? So you stay at the door for a long, until the door is closed. Like, let me think about it. What is there to think about? You're like, I can be a great speaker. You're like, it's possible. I'm just going to impact 10 people. But that's things of thousands of people and millions of people. So do you see that sometimes times have passed? And I will tell you that our God is a God of a second chance. But sometimes, even on the second chance, we still refuse to get in. Why? Because the battle in our mind becomes so hard and so tight. How you are a failure. And let me tell you, the devil can exaggerate a failure in one part of your life and cause it to be a failure in every part of your life. Let me tell you, God can never discard you because you have a character failure. No. He says, I will stick by your side until you are fine. We will build that character. And as in, whatever is broken inside of you, and some of us, by the whatever is broken, we don't see it. Some of you lack the confidence, okay? But, and let me tell you, the devil will know. Have you ever seen in the ring two people fighting, and the other person has been punched so bad and they are bleeding, and when they go back for another round, the opponent is only boxing the place that is bleeding. Because they knew there is a weakness there. So they know that that is the easiest target that they can do to knock this person out. So most of the times the devil knows where to hit us to knock us out. He knows we lack the confidence. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to beat them at that. You know, he knows that we love marriage so much. So he's like, I am going to. Why do you think that for so many people, the devil waits until you get to a place of deciding who to marry, and then he will try to sabotage your life? He's like, this is a destiny helper. He's going to do mighty things. So now, let me bring bad things here so that, like, rotten answers here, quick answers here, so that I can jeopardize that. And let me tell you, even when the devil succeeds to bring anything that is counterfeit in your life, just like I said, our God is a God of a second chance. He can either rectify what you already have, or he can give you something better. You get it? But his mission is not accomplished until you get to where you are supposed to go. And he's not going to take his hand off you until you get to where you are supposed, in the glory that you are supposed to actually get into. Okay? So I just want us to claim some of those things. I just want you to tell God that, you know what? Run my years back, you know, so that I can be able to enter that door. Run my years back so that I can take that opportunity. Run my years back so that I can show up more. Run my years back. Give me a second chance so that I can show up in the fullness of who I am. Even when I don't know it, let them call me a braggart, a person. Let them call me a wiseacre, but it's okay. Remember, I told you no one knows your functionality. My functionality demands and requires that I be outspoken, I speak fast, and I present myself as this. So if you look at me and you're like, oh, she speaks too much, this is my functionality. It is. You can't tell a fridge that it freezes things. But it freezes things too much. You get it? Did you want it to be an oven? So for everyone that is criticizing you, they don't know what you were meant. Your maker has your manual. He knows what you were made for. So go back to your maker and ask him, what do I do in this season? And if you feel like the season has passed by, go back and tell him, run back the years. Because he says that he will even restore the years that have been eaten by the locusts. Okay? But he will bring them back. So it is not all lost. But I want us to, you remember the prodigal son? How God turned his life around? But remember, in the first place, he's the one who was like, give me my inheritance. But when he came back, he did not come demanding. No. He came back and said, make me one of your servants. And one thing that I was thinking about in my devotion this morning, when you tell someone, make me, it's like when you say, God says, or Jesus says, I will make you the fishers of men, that I'm going to give you authority. I'm going to give you the skills. You are going to make your own life. You are going to make, to mold. You are going, like he's giving you authority. So that means, as God promised, I believe he just didn't promise deliverance. He also promised that he will take us into. Because if you had only promised deliverance, that, I will take you out of Egypt, bring you to the wilderness to do what? To get lost? To complain about watermelons? Some of us, just like I said, we are in the wilderness of our visions. But again, the wilderness is long for a reason, that we'll get the experience, okay? That we will muscle up. Because God, the Bible says that he had a shorter route to the promised land. But he took them to what? 40 years through the wilderness. But it was like, if they face any battle, the fastest thing they will do is run back to Egypt. Because there are grapes, because there is watermelon, and then there are onions. Like, who complains about those things? Who complains? That means, as in, they would have run so fast. So he was like, you know what? Let me take them through the longer route so that I can take away all their expectations. I just rinse it out of them. By the time they get to the promised land, and then promised land was also not, yes, it was flowing with honey and milk, but it had occupants. I was like, you are going to fight to get into the promised land. Why, when you get there, I don't want to just get as a princess, soft lifer, and then after that. No, soft life comes after we have fought and we have gotten there. But some of us love the soft life in the middle of the wilderness, and we want the soft life. No, this is time to fight. This is time to fight. This is time to show up. And there are 3 areas that I just want us to look at. When we talked about clarity, I think we talked about one thing, right? We talked about what? Speed. We talked about speed, right? And now, number 2, if you lack clarity, or lack of clarity is very expensive because it robs us of stability. Do you know, if you're not so sure about where you are, you will not be stable? If you're not so sure that, by the way, I am called to be here. Like, some of us are very shaky because we are not sure, can I be a coach? Can I be a speaker? Can I change people's lives? So you are not so sure. There is lack of clarity. And the reason as to why I call this first segment clarity is because it changes your mindset to tell you that you belong. And you don't have to feel like it. No. Show up like you belong even when you don't feel like it. Because after some time, then it becomes a normal thing to do. Then after some time, it becomes your second nature. Then after some time, it is who you are. You have been consumed by your calling, that every time you speak your calling and show up like your calling, okay? So it also influences your stability, but it also influences your sanity. Do you know that if you're anxious all the time, you are not sane? You are anxious about the decisions. Some of you are anxious about content. How many of us we admit that we are anxious about content? Very anxious. You can spend a whole day crafting one piece of content, and you are typing, and then you get into a meeting. And during the meeting, your mind tells you there is constant stress of, you were supposed to post this, but you have not posted. How many of us have short videos, and then you are contemplating, can I post this or can I not post this? That is anxiety. Right? Now, it is better to choose between good and bad. But when you have to choose between good and good, because good and bad, it's easy. You choose good, right? But when they tell you that shooting content, okay, and showing up for a live session, and then you're like, live session. I don't know if people are going to show up. But content, now what am I going to post? But even if I post it, will people like it? Now you have anxiety. Guess what? You are not sane. You can complete the day minus finishing your to-do list, minus doing the things that you promised to do. That is why some of us will have one meeting in a day, and we will tell everyone in the world that we are so busy. Our whole day is occupied. And then when someone really that knows you asks you, what time will you be occupied? You know, I have a meeting at around 3 p.m. and I'm not so sure whether it's going to be 30 minutes or an hour. So what are you going to do for the rest of your day? Now that is an inside person, the one that knows you. I was like, I have so many things to do. You know, I have content, I have assignments. You will always bring in things. But, that is anxiety. So lack of clarity affects, okay, your sanity. You're not sane. That is why when I show up here and I'm like, I don't see some of you, you're not doing content. Some of you are like, but we are coming. Eh? And I don't want to drive you crazy, okay? But I want to tell that the reason as to why I took you through the 5 pillars of branding is to show you that promotion and you talking about yourself is very relevant and very crucial in this age and era if you are to attain the things that you need to be able to attain. All right? So let's just talk about this. During the wilderness session, okay, between catching of the vision and the delivery of the vision, okay, you must be able to manage you. Manage your habits, manage your attitude, manage your reactions. Sometimes we react to everything. Someone has said that is bad content and you're reacting. Someone has said you will not make it and then you feel the need to react. Someone has said you're not a good speaker, you know, but people don't start as good speakers. They start as bad speakers. Everything that starts up going down, I only know a grave. I don't know anything else. Everything else starts from down. I don't know of houses that they build up down. I've never seen. All houses start with even the foundation that you're not even seeing. So can we dig the foundation? Can we build a foundation that by the time people see the flats, when the people look at you and they're like, look what the Lord has done. Clearly you tell them, you have only seen the quarter of the journey. But the 3 quarters of the journey, the crying, the fasting, the praying, the sowing of the seeds, the struggling, the anxiety, the lack of clarity, you did not see that. You have seen an already made good. But praise the Lord because I am here to impact you. You get it? But whatever you speak pierces the hearts of people. Why? Because you have a background. But what are you going to say if you have not gone through these things? So do them and fail so that you have a story tomorrow. Yeah? Do them and fail so that you have a story tomorrow. So manage yourself. All right? And then in the wilderness, I'll still tell you to manage your, what do we call that food that God brought in the wilderness? That one. Learn to manage the kind of food that God gives you in the wilderness. Because God's performance sometimes does not match our expectations. Most times we expect meat. We expect watermelons, we expect onions. We want to fry in the wilderness. We want saucepans and we want graves. You know, that's why they said, but when there are graves in Egypt, there were graves, so we could have. And let me tell you, be very careful because Egypt is comfortable. Why? Because Egypt was developed. And Egypt was predictable. They had food every day. Even when they were being beaten, they had food. That is, and then they had houses. And then they had sleeping hours. That is how they were producing and multiplying. So they were a bit comfortable. Even when someone says, oh, Egypt was bad, Egypt was bad. Let me tell you, Egypt was very predictable. However, the wilderness was undeveloped. So there were no saucepans. There was no order, no frying of food, nothing. So even when God gives them that food, some of them had the greed of saying, let's collect as much as possible and keep. And then it would turn into maggots. You know, and God tells them, collect only enough. What was he saying? I am trimming you. I am pruning you. I am preparing you. So this is a season of preparation that when you show up in your promised land, you will know exactly what to do and you will be an already made good. So we are going through a season of preparation. So even when God's promises and his performance does not match your expectation, show up. Because you will say, but if God loved me too much, you know, my page will be a global page now. Things become global pages just like that. No, they don't become global pages just like that. And I will tell you, everything of value builds slowly. Everything of value builds slowly. But everything that has no value, everything, do you know that every entertainment content builds so fast? As in, all you have to do is shake, show up tomorrow, shaking, show up the other day, kicking, and people will be like, oh, you are my happiness button. Oh, I love you for doing this. Oh, you know, please keep bringing this content. And people will be there. It doesn't matter. Everyone in the whole world, you're doing something simple. But to show up and speak sense, and it makes sense, you are giving medicine, okay? And if you can give medicine and it is medicine to someone's soul, and they're not going to commit suicide, chances are the person that read it, it touched them. They did not commit suicide. There is a home that has a father because you showed up on internet. But guess what? No one is going to applaud you. No one is going to clap for you. Not the whole world is going to like your content. Maybe your page is going to stagnate at around 1,020 likes or followers. And then you will be like, no, there is no devil. You are building something good. Yes, do we have ways of accelerating? Do we have ways of positioning ourselves better? That's exactly what Pretty Brainy Wife is doing. That, you know what, in as much as we are original, in as much as we are purposeful, but again, there is a way of packaging, because packaging, do you know that some of us will pick things, I was going to say Colgate, toothpaste, because of how it was packaged? And sometimes you'll be like, but Colgate, okay, it has weird color. These ones have flashy colors, but okay, I'm used to this. And then you will take what you are used to, not what is flashy. But packaging affects. So many of us that have good content, we are actually not packaging well. We are not positioning well. We are not promoting well. We are not affecting and influencing people's perspectives about who we are and what we have to give. We are not inducing our personality in there. And we are not so sure and clear about our purpose. So you see how we end up losing, and then we have the constant battles. And while you are losing and having constant battles, guess who wins? The devil. But the moment you're making even a small advancement like this, when the devil says, you say, not today. At least I am winning. 15 people liked my post. You know, tomorrow 30 people liked my post. You know, that means I'm positioning better, I'm packaging better, I'm speaking a language that people understand. Some of us speak too much English that people don't need. Because people did not come for an English lesson. No. They came to be delivered. And if we have problems, we are not listening to dictionaries. No, we didn't come for encyclopedia. We didn't come for literature lesson. We came that you will speak to us. So can you speak in a language that we understand? All right? And then the last one, you must be able to manage the miracles in your life. There are past miracles in your life that you have not looked at. The things that God has done, the life that you have, where you have come, how far you have come. You want to tell me that God has never done anything in your life? Is that what you want to tell me? So can we acknowledge? Because when we acknowledge, that is how we learn to fight the battles of the mind. Well, like, if he healed me of this, if he took me through this, if I could get through this stage of my life. You know, some of us, even just living and breathing is a miracle. Let me tell you, yesterday we went somewhere. I was somewhere at a speaking engagement at a golf course hotel. This happened to me for the first time. I got up to the place and it was, I think, 10 minutes to the time for me to speak. Guess what happened? I started shaking. I got a stomach ache, and I believe it was like an ulcer, okay? And I felt like, you know what, I was about to vomit. I felt I started sweating. It has never happened to me, but the stomach pain was too intense, like too intense. Now, in that moment, 10 minutes for me to speak, it has never happened in my life. All the 15, 18 years I've been speaking, it has never happened. And it's not because of anything. I guess I had taken long to eat, because I usually take long hours without eating. So I looked back at Ben and I was like, Ben, I need a glass of milk. Ben was like, do you need tea? I was like, not tea, a glass of milk. Because I've ever been told that it really helps with ulcers. So Ben runs, you know, gets me a glass of milk. I'm thinking, while the person is up there reading and, you know, talking about all these good things, all this person has touched us. Whenever you go to our social media platforms, definitely you know the next thing is they're mentioning your name. Now Ben is appearing with a glass of milk. I'm still shaking. I'm holding 3 of my handkerchiefs. I'm like, God, do not shame me, not now. Okay? Of course, I can't blame myself for having taken long to eat, because it has never happened to me. And I'm like, you know what? When he brought the milk, I just sipped. You know how you sip, you take one sip and you're just praying, God, let this one sip be enough, because they are going to mention my name. And then you're taking those long sips, because then you want to feel the milk. You know, when it's an ulcer, I think more than 18 years ago, I have ever had ulcers when I was in school. So I know how ulcers pain. Now, I really felt it was that. So I could feel the milk actually go down. I don't know whether this has happened to you. And I wanted it to hit that spot, because I knew as soon as it hits that spot, at least I will feel better. Let me tell you, as soon as the milk hit the spot, like, I regained my consciousness. I stopped sweating. I stopped shaking. I came back and immediately they mentioned my name. I put down whatever I had in my hands. Remember, I was prepared. I was holding my bag. I was, like everything was disorganized. I went and presented. And you know, life was changed. But in that moment, like I said, God, I have spoken on so many platforms. You have used me in so many. You know how you make those prayers, but you are basing on what has happened in the past. That is managing your miracles. Because I believe if I didn't have any ounce of faith in me, I was losing it. Like I was literally losing it. Because in that moment I texted Tim and I was like, you know what, I am not feeling well, but pray for me. And he was like, can I call you? And I'm like, I'm seated at the speaker's table. And he was like, Hilda, I need to speak to you now or else I'm driving there. And I'm like, okay, I bent down the table and I'm like, I feel so bad. I am shaking. He's like, can I get in touch with Ben? So he's calling Ben. I'm also calling Ben. But in less than 3 minutes, I was back to normal. And I was able to deliver. So there are so many times that we are going to be at that has never happened to me. I was actually worried that the episode is going to repeat at night. And it didn't, because as soon as I came back, my husband was like, come back to daddy so that I can take you for supper. So I was like, you know what I went through today, I have never gone through. Indeed, I don't usually have supper. It was like, no, today you're having supper. So he took me for supper. At night, I waited for the episode to repeat, nothing. Today, I waited for the episode to repeat, nothing. And I'm like, so it wasn't ulcers, it was an attack. Because I have not eaten since morning. So if it was supposed to come back by now, I would be trembling. I would be all over the place. But it was an attack for just that moment. You get it? So I need you in the times when things are collapsing down on you. Remember what God has done in your life. Remember where he has brought you from. Remember that even when God does not save you. Remember the boys that say that even if he does not save us, even if we are not bowing down to any other God. We are not. And even when they were cast in the fire, they were like, it's okay. And then he was the fourth man in the fire. So can we manage that is managing your miracles. That is having a vault and saying that, you know what, there is something for me to look back on and say, you know what, not today. You know, not today. Even if this does not work. I have a long list of things that have worked. Have some of us created our gratitude lists? Let me tell you, a gratitude list is something that helps you. It collects you whenever your mind is falling apart because of things that are not happening. And you're like, but I went through this. When I remember of the snake bite, when I remember that actually my bone is right out, that when I touch my bone because of a snake bite that was supposed to kill my mother. And I'm like, how am I here standing? For me, even standing and walking is a miracle. I thank God. I have actually ever fractured this leg and I went to theater for it. I was in church, I was dancing and it turned the wrong way. I was sprained. I was down for a whole year. I was in a cement. And I mean, a lot happened. And I'm like, the devil didn't want me to walk, but I am here. I am walking. I actually thought when I got pregnant, because I tend to be so heavy, I was like, I am going to lose it because I don't think my leg can be able, the Dianas usually joke that I have a leg of a doll. All my sisters usually. Yeah, because apparently when your sisters are on your bed, you know how silly you can be jumping around. Whenever they are jumping around, they are avoiding my leg, apparently. Because the moment someone touches it, it turns this side. Because the socket is dislocated up to today. But guess what? I dance, I jump, I walk, and I've never felt anything. So for me, it's a miracle to be here, okay? To be living. It's a miracle to be married. It's a miracle to have children. At some point, my mother said, I long for the day I will see your children. And now these days, when they're disturbing her, I'm like, that is your miracle. I'm like, manage it. Manage it, because when she's around, I am in chilling mode. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not having that headache. And he's like, but I longed for that time. And I'm like, yeah, there is your miracle. Manage it. So can we remember what has happened as life changes, okay? If we can be able to do that, then we can tap into the power that is higher than us, that is deeper, that will even change generations and the people to come. I love you, people. Bless you, bless you.